Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly cash or trash where we look at the hot books of this week. And we make predictions sure to go wrong because, who knows what's going to happen. Clearly not me, but I like to make the predictions anyway. We try to apply what we've learned from doing the look back for over 3 years now and seeing how books respond over the next 6 months. And we try to apply it to this week's books to bring a little realism up front to what people are chasing. And yeah, so that is the purpose of the show. Let's see, we got some folks in the chat already. We had the unruly Simming tailgating. I'm sure he will be back in a minute if he can. Mr. Randman, what is going on? Interesting mix is one way to put it. We're going to talk about that a little bit up front. Mojo, what is happening? Dre, welcome, my friend. Welcome. Glad you could be here. Mr. Randman talked about it already. Both lists went out of their way to mention that this week sucked. Not in terms of necessarily they were bad books, but that there really wasn't that many things that were actually hot. And that the values weren't actually really spiking. It was more of trying to find 10 books to put on their list than it was that, there's a whole bunch of books that are really taken off. That it was a really poor week in the market. It really reflects what's been going on. Louis, my friend, what is happening? And the fact that, last year, 2021 was crazy for the comic market. Everything went through the roof. In the fall and winter, we started having a big correction on some of that stuff, particularly some of the non-true, major key kind of stuff. And even on some of the major keys, we were getting some correction, some adjustment back to where it probably should be. But typically, you get that almost every winter. Typically, spring books take off. We are not seeing that. We're not seeing that. A lot of it has to do with inflation at the moment and everything else. And also people just being unwilling to spend. Unwilling to say the sky is falling. The sky is falling. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's an interesting trend, which means if you do have funds right now might be a good time to look for some of those books that you want to invest in and look for deals. Be patient, though, for sure. Great White Silver, what is going on? Welcome. So I'm going to get into that at the very end because Miss Marvel is not the first time I've seen that. And I'm going to talk about that at the end as well because I've said those two books are the last two books. So we will talk about that in depth when we get to those Miss Marvel books. Manic, what is happening? So for those that are new, I basically break these books down into categories for my predictions of what they're going to do. And these, of course, are our categories that we go through every week. We got our Street Cash, homie. These are books that I think are going to continue to increase in value. I haven't seen many of those this week. Usually these are true blue chippers or just a timing thing where I think you're going to see a bump in value. That over the next 6 months, and I always talk about these in terms of 6 months versus longer term, we got our worth it. Books that are probably about right, pretty close to where they should be, but are probably going to continue to stay in this range and maybe a little slightly more. That if you buy them at this price, you're probably going to do okay. It doesn't really matter. We got our I'll Be Backs. The flip side of the worth it, going to be in the same range, but if you're patient, you could probably do better. You could probably find a deal. The Traps. It's a trap. Those books are going to drop 30, 40, 50%. We know we get a ton of these every week that drop this much. Even in 6 months, it is not that surprising to get books that fall back that much, for sure. Then we also have our dumpster fires. These are books that drop 70, 80%, and we get one of those almost every week, for sure. On average, we definitely get probably more than one of those a week. Books that just do not have any kind of value that people should not be going on. Occasionally, I'll throw on a "come on, man," just sort of what are we thinking kind of deal. Like, we should know better than this. This is silly. So those are the categories I put these books into. We got a few more people popping in here. Need to figure out, don't we all? Yeah, people are definitely putting comics on the back burner at the moment. A little less disposable income particularly than last year. Becker, man, what is happening? That's kind of where I'm at. I have a bunch of books listed at the moment, like on Shortbox, and I've been getting some really low ball offers, and I'm like, and I've even dropped the price a little bit. I'm like, I don't think I'm going any lower. If they don't sell, I'll just sit on them for a while, I think. So, Planet Arizona, what is happening? The strongest deal is Sports and Heart of a Dumpster. Yeah, that's right. He is on vacation, so good for you. I think he mentioned that last week that he was going to be going on vacation. So good for you, my friend. All right, so let's get into these books and see if what we think about them. First up, Beavis and Butthead number 25 is the one we're showing. Basically, the CBSI guy admitted that any of the 20s Beavis and Butthead books are all hot right now because we got a trailer that they're making a movie, which I had no idea they were making a movie. Hey, TM Nerdy, what is going on? But these are all super low print, hard to find. I actually didn't even find a sale of this one, even though he talked about it going for 40 plus. A lot of these late ones are all going 20, 30, $40. All right, I'm going to just, my own bias is maybe affecting me here because even as a kid, I thought they were stupid. like some of it was funny, but I mostly just thought they were stupid. I was never into Beavis and Butthead, so you go fire. Yeah. So yeah, I won't call this a dumpster fire, but do we really think there's a long-term market for Beavis and Butthead? I think this is a trap. I know there's the nostalgia thing, but I tell you what, some of those nostalgia books we've been seeing lately when they come back around have not been holding very well. I don't expect these to hold very well. There's no key here in these late 20 books that he's talking about. They're just sort of hard to find, but who really cares? Nerdy saying it looks like it'll be awesome. This is the movie we need now. I'm clearly in the minority on thinking, but yeah, I just don't think there's a long-term market for those, even despite my bias against Beavis and Butthead, because I really just thought they were idiots, and they, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, for sure. It's saving for what you really want right now. Next. So I'm not going to talk too long about Beavis and Butthead. I think this is a trap to jump on this right here with the movie trailer and everything else. Next, we got Predator. We got a trailer for the new Prey movie. I didn't know they were making this, honestly. I had not, until this trailer dropped. I did. And when they first showed it as Prey, I was like, ooh, what's this? And then it was like, wait, this is a Predator movie. So I did not know anything about this going into that trailer. I thought the trailer looked fun, going kind of back in time. I thought that was interesting, doing Predator versus, Native Americans. And I thought that was a pretty interesting take for great place to take the franchise. But we got the spike into $60 for raw copies. 9.8 hit 700. This movie is coming sooner rather than later. So in terms of the 6-month thing, I still think this is an I'll be back. This is really jumping again because we're getting a new movie. There's always going to be some value here, but there are a lot of these. These are not that hard to come by. I just think this falls into your classic I'll be back. There's a buzz right now about Predator. When the buzz kind of goes away, it falls back, and it's done this multiple times. So I feel like this is a pretty standard. Yeah, Predator with lasers versus people with bows and arrows. He's got some advantages for sure. So we'll see. The formula is almost always the same. So having him fight different cultures, different time periods, that kind of stuff. That's really a lot of that you can do. But it looked interesting. I don't know that I'll watch it or not. I don't think I've watched a Predator thing since Predator 2. I'm pretty sure I've never seen any of the other Predator stuff. So not a huge fan, but I just think this is an I'll be back. It fits really perfectly. Next, we got the Sandman trailer. So we got a couple of Sandman books back to back here. First up, we have Sandman number 13. First appearance of Lady Constantine, which in the context of the book is in the past, he basically interacts with a ancestor of John Constantine, which I haven't got to this part, so I haven't read this, so I don't know. But this is just, we're discussing this, not this coming week, but the week after. So I'll get to read this and see exactly here what's going on. But because they can't use John Constantine, they're basically using the same actress to play the past versus a current version of Joanna Constantine. So yeah, this is causing this book to jump $35 raw, 9.8, $275. This is where I'm at on this. Do we really think this is going to have legs? Maybe the show is just really fantastic and this is a breakout character. Maybe we get something. Maybe, but I just don't see this having legs. Like, the show's going to be here soon. The 6-month thing will be well after the show's come and gone. I just don't see this having any kind of legs. I feel like this is... Sandman is great, but I just... Yeah. I agree with the books, but if you're buying it for Lady Constantine, I think that's a mistake. I think this is an I'll be back. Just get the book sometime when there's no buzz around it. Just as I think it's just a better value there. Yeah. Yeah, the value is the series as a whole, not outside of 1, 4, and 8. I can totally see that. Interested to see where the trailer goes. I mean, but I got to read more. I've only read the first volume, so we're going to be breaking down the volume 2 here in a couple weeks. Next, we got another Sandman book. This, you guys already mentioned Merv, the Pumpkinhead. We got news that Mark Hamill is going to be the voice of Merv in the show. That's caused this one raw copies to jump up to around $35, 9.8, $335. Yeah, read it for sure. That's, I'm only a volume in, and I can tell you it's really, really good. It lived up to the hype, which I was surprised by. But again, there's no legs here. This is just because Mark Hamill's voicing it. Do we really think there's legs here, pop culture wise, to keep this going? I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's a lot of it just Mark Hamill. There's a little buzz there. I don't think Merv is going to be like a main character. Yeah, so another pretty easy I'll be back call on this one. Next, we got we got our gaming one of the week. We got Marvel versus Fortnite, or Fortnite versus Marvel, Fortnite X Marvel, Zero War. So supposedly this is the Marco Trina variant. So it comes with the game code, but this is also was supposed to be a UK exclusive variant, but Midtown had it. So between the game code and this being some sort of hard to get exclusive, this thing jumped up to $40 to $50 for the Fortnite fans. I mean, $40 to $50. I can tell you, none of those other Fortnite books held. We talked about them. They would do decent, but because people could still get the code later or whatever for cheaper, actually, than they could pay for the character in the game. But none of those. And this cover is kind of ugly. Now, maybe I should have got a little higher res version. I downloaded the one they had on their website, but this cover is nothing spectacular. I don't. Oh, I'm clicked over comments at the moment. Right? Am I just reporting what Russ said on Comic Now? I mean, I watched it. I don't remember exactly what Russ said, but I'm just telling you what I know about these. They put these on the books. So yeah, I'm talking about the books that Comic Tom and Russ put on their hot list, and I'm talking about the books that CBSI put on their hot list. Gus. So I don't see that with this one. Tom didn't talk about this one. They talked about this is on the CBSI list. So yeah, that cover's terrible. No, this is absolutely 100% a trap. There's just no way I would pay $40, $50 for this. It's got a limited, I get there's a Fortnite crowd out there, but they're not necessarily a complete comic book crowd. They have not been able to, these other Fortnite books have not held value. No way I would keep with that. Need a better one just got Photoshopped. Yeah. All right. Next, we got our other cover. We're moving into the rest of our covers. We got Poison Ivy #1, the Frank Show 1 in 50. This is the one that caused CBSI to admit that it was just a bad week because, well, this and the next one, because this 1 in 50 was going for 50 to 60, so right at ratio. Frank Show, Ivy. Yeah, I mean, Show draws him with some curves. She looks good, but it's only going for 50 to 60. At ratio is not typically a sign that a ratio book is going to go for good value. Love Show, man. Like, and honestly, I think some of the other Ivy first covers that are a little more, like, this one didn't do anything for me. I'll be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, she looks good. She got her curves and she's a nice Frank Show lady, but nah, this one didn't. I didn't find this one to be special in any way. It's not going for a value that's special. Oh, gee, we'll get to that one here in just a second. I pre-ordered the Dan Mora, so I don't know what it's going for. It didn't make the list. This one is, yeah, this is an I'll be back, if not a trap. If it's only going for ratio, it's definitely going to finish way below ratio in 6 months, for sure. Next, sort of the same thing. Now, I will tell you, I'm showing the 1 in 25 cover. Because the 1 in 50 foil, there was no good pictures. It's the same cover, but there's a foil version of this. It's the 1 in 50. The foil is the one that hit the list. $40 to $50 for the foil version of this cover, which is under ratio. 40 to 50 is under ratio. That is not hot. That is an I'll be back, possibly even a trap. That is not, I mean, I love me Harley and Ivy, but no. And it's Jim Bartell, who I like, but there's nothing truly special there. No. Yeah. Hey, Eckert, what's going on? Did Ivy just get back from Pluto? Oh, on the Frank Cho one? I don't know. Yeah, I think these are just, both of these are on the list because they were looking for stuff to put on the list. Let's be real. Next, second week in a row, we got the Andrew Garfield photo cover. This still has everything to do with signing. Raw. Last week we talked about raw copies were $75. Now they're $125. Yeah, love that Harley, but not that cover. Yeah, no life to it. Yeah, to me the Mora was the best of the bunch, but so we talked about this last week. These photo covers at celebrity signings things, they'll pop when a signing like this is happening. But long term, this is a trap unless you have the signature book. So unless you get it and send it and get the signature, this is a trap. If you're buying this book right now, which I don't know why you would buy this book right now if you weren't going after the signature, but you better get it and it better come back well with a high grade, because otherwise it's a trap. Because yeah, this book will not hold its value. There you go. I would be tempted to move it right now. Yeah. Well, you're gonna get the yellow label. You wouldn't get that on the street, but yeah, for sure. That's sort of disturbing, and really, actually, there's no shortage to it. It is. The other cover of the week is, but yeah, we talked about this last week. This is a trap. The other cover, last cover of the week, is Amazing Spider-Man #3, the 1 in 100 first cover appearance of Sakura Spider, which is like a Japanese version of the character that was introduced in Japan and manga first. And this 1 in 100 is going for 150, 200. I'll be honest, I think this cover is atrocious. Like, I don't know anything about this character. The character may be cool, but her back leg looks really weird perspective-wise. Like, it's super long. Her arm looks oddly proportioned here. Like the way you're like, even with their hand coming at you, it looks weird. The way the leg and the knee doesn't really work with where her hip is. Like, and then from knee to, and I realize it's coming at you, but like knee to toe, like that is super long, disproportionate. Like this cover is, oh, like I guess that's her web shooter. Yeah. But it's not the first appearance. Exactly. Yeah, go for the first appearance. Yeah. This cover is just what? But it's the first cover appearance of a Spider character. So people go nuts for that crap. And it's a limited one. But 150 to 200, no way I'm paying that. I honestly think it's probably a trap, but my prediction is, and I'll be back, I would not pay for this for sure. Not these kind of values. I get it. They're going to have to really use her and be important for it to come anywhere close to being worth it. All right. Next, we're going to move into, more on her. Deadpool Black, White, and Blood #4, which is apparently her first appearance in a Western comic that she appears in here. I don't know if it's in the story with Deadpool or if it's in a backup story or what, but her first appearance in an American comic is this book. Raw copies are $10. 9.8 is $52. If you believe in the character, to me, this is way better buy. $10 is a way better buy. Like if you have interest in the character, 9.8 for 52, which is basically the $10 plus the CGC fees. I mean, I don't know that I wouldn't call this straight cash, but like it's probably at $10 taking a shot on a Spider character. Like, I don't know if this character is going to have legs or not, but $10, that's probably worth it. I wouldn't necessarily go much higher than that, but if you can get it for $10, I would be like, I can't see a huge complaint right there. See, we got some people jumping in. It was really a bad week. It really was. Hey, Matthew, what is going on? Miles Morales wannabe. We'll see. Yeah. It's kind of she was created by Japanese creators and Marvel's kind of using her. Yeah, I think definitely some of the variant covers are going to take a downturn with the overall downturn in the market for sure. Yeah, that was just at the beginning. That had to do with the Prey movie. Yeah. So yeah, if you can get it for $5 to $10, go it. That's fine. I mean, I don't see that as being out of line with where it should be. Whoa, I jumped a long way. No. Yeah, I jumped a long way. There's John popping in. Those new DC team ratio covers for 55 each. I don't know. I guess I missed those. I'm not sure exactly which ones you're talking about there, Gus. But so yeah, we got a bunch of people saying hello to John. The manga is probably still cheap. Yeah, if you can go get the manga, that's definitely the better option. Yeah. So there you go. For this one, I would say that's probably worth it at $10. Next, our other comic buzz of the week is Web of Spider-Man #36. At least I assume this is comic buzz. I haven't heard any actual spec that they're going to use him in a movie or something, but this is first appearance of Tombstone. If you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the current villain in the current Spidey run. I know issue 3 came out, which people are saying is better. Issue 2 sucked. Issue 1 sucked. We'll see. But yeah, first appearance of Tombstone, $30 to $50, 9.2 for around 100. From this Web of Spider-Man #36 from 1988. Feels like the Waltons. John got here, so yeah, we did turn into the Waltons. Here's my thing on this. A fairly major Spider villain first appearance is only $30 to $50. Like, I mean, Tombstone is clearly second tier. You could argue third tier Spider villain. So yeah, but that seems fairly reasonable to me for $30 to $50. But I'm still going to put it in the I'll be back. but I'm with you, like Planet and Mr. Rayman, that he's kind of an underrated character. But the book has never really moved. I think you're fine to be patient and look for a deal here. But yeah, if you can get this, particularly on the lower end of that 30 to 50, if you're paying $30, 25, $30 for the first appearance of a spider villain that's used as much as he is, I feel like that's a pretty good deal long term. Like long term, 6 months, this is probably an I'll be back. But long term, I think you're probably still in the worth it range. Maybe not. Maybe I'm overestimating where Tombstone will be, but he is always kind of thrown to the side. So maybe that's all that's. Yeah, I think there's more to it than that. But I mean, I think it's historically $20, $30 book. So I think it's an I'll be back. But like $20, $30, this seems like a pretty good investment for a key spider book. That is definitely a possibility for sure. Like if it was ASM, the ASM at first appearances tend to do a little bit better. You are correct. I would agree with this. He's always going to be kind of a side villain, but I feel like I feel like that's pretty reasonable deal. Next we got, where am I at? There it is. Okay. All-Star Squadron. Some of these are not very good photos. Number 25. This is the first appearance of several characters, including Jade, who you can see right here, who is probably the most well-known before just recently, but also this guy, this is Knucklin here, but he becomes Atom Smasher. And of course, we're getting Atom Smasher in the Black Adam movie. The trailer dropped this week. Interestingly enough, this is the only book related to the Black Adam movie that's hit the list. So yeah, I'm thinking people did not love that trailer at all. So this first appearance of Knucklin, who becomes Atom Smasher, raw copies were $25, 9.8, jumped all the way up to over 400, 425. This is an I'll be back. Do we really think Atom Smasher is going to be the breakout character of Black Adam? And based on the reaction I heard to the trailer, I'm not sure there's going to be a breakout character. There's a whole lot of this to that Black Adam trailer. I just feel like the choice of the Rock to play Black Adam, like, it's a fine one, but Black Adam is not a hero, and they feel like they're trying to build things around him. I don't know. So, not everyone's felt that way, but I feel like the majority of responses I've gotten have been more this than this, TM. So, but if you're excited for it, that's great. And I think it has potential. I like The Rock. I think it could be good. There is this also. People don't have a lot of faith in DC right now. So, we'll see. I'm hoping it's going to be good, but I feel like there was kind of a really meh reaction. So maybe I'm just listening to the wrong folks, because Planet also agrees he's excited for it. So yeah, but I would not be investing in Atom Smasher. No, this is an I'll be back. If I was buying this book, it would probably be because of Jade, and not Atom Smasher. But that's just me. But I don't know that they'll ever really use Jade. But like I could see Jade showing up in some Green Lantern stuff. But yeah. He does pretty much just play The Rock. There is some truth to that. That's, I think, a lot of people's concern. We'll see. All right, next. So yeah, that was the only book related to Black Adam hit the list. Next, we got another Star Wars book. Second week in a row, we got this first appearance of Quinlan Voss, because he was name dropped last week. Last week, when we talked about raw copies, had gotten all the way up to like 125. Now we're talking about raw copies at 75, just a continued increase in sales. So they've settled. So we're already past the peak. There's just a lot of sales, according to Tom. 9.8 did hit 500, which is up a little bit for the 9.8 side. But we're not going to see Quinlan Voss, I don't think, in the show. And even if we do, we're not going to see him again for a very long time. And yeah, it's already if you think about last week was 125, it's already almost a trap from last week, and I think it's still a trap. This is not a character I think they're going to use a lot of. I think they just name dropped him to name dropping. Maybe he shows up at some point, but yeah, I mean that was it. That was the whole thing. He'd written his name. Okay. Yeah. Well, there was an increase in sales. So, and I think they were struggling to find anything to put on the list this week. I really think they were. All right. Next. Keep moving here. Keep moving. Oh, this is one of those Tom specials that drive me nuts. So this is, well, it's really a key collector special. Because let's be real, the list they're using comes from Key Collector, and then they're selecting from it. But the fact that they select this one, so someone, I forget now who it was, that helps do content for Key Collector, mentioned this book. They posted it on Key Collector because this is the first team up of Satana, Jennifer Kale, and Topaz, the three chicks on the front, into a team. I guess they call themselves the Witches or whatever. And well, we're getting like into this kind of the side of the MCU. We're supposed to be getting like Ghost Rider. We're supposed to be getting Blade and that kind of stuff. So chase this book. I don't care that it's only going for $6, which means it's not really hot. There was just a bunch of sales. This is terrible. I guess at $6, you could say there's no such thing as terrible spec. But come on. I mean, and these characters, like, do we know? Seriously? Why is this? I guess they were really desperate to put anything on the list. I mean, oh, Matrix provided it. Okay. I mean, I get that it's like, there's an interesting here, but I just don't, like, I'm just so stunned that they put this thing on the list. I could get that, like, hey, there's some interesting maybe spec here, but I don't know. It just seemed weird that it was on the list to me. So, I mean, I don't know. Well, I don't even really call it market manipulation as much as, okay, it's fine to put out a spec book. Like, and say, hey, this is an issue you might not know about. This is why it might be spec. To me, I see no problem with that. I have no issues with that. Like, you're putting out your opinion, you're telling people, and by doing that, if you have an audience, you're sort of manipulating the market. You're creating an interest. What annoys me is when you then follow it up because you also do a hot books. What were the hot books this week? And you confirm your spec by saying, this is a hot book when it's not hot. It's $6. There were some sales, but it's not hot. And that's what annoys me. That's where I feel like they put themselves in an ethical bind because they're the ones that put this forward. It didn't really take off, but it did a little bit. So we're going to like self-confirm that you should listen to us in our spec quotes by saying it's on the hot book list. And that's where I feel like they get themselves into where they can be accused of this, of market manipulation. They can be accused of, they have a whole bunch of these that they're wanting to put up for sale. Like, because they're saying something should be hot or something you should spec on something, then they're confirming it, even though it's not really. It just bothers me. Yeah. So they asked you to provide a list of books, which I think is fine. I just think that if they're putting a book forward, unless it just explodes, like they have to be careful about how they then put it on it's a hot book list. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't have a problem with, hey, here's a key you might not know about. Here's an interesting grouping coming together. Maybe there's some spec here. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with doing that and then going, look, confirmed, it's on the hot list when it's selling for $6. That bothers me. The self-fulfilling hot prophecy. That, yeah. If you're looking for it in a dollar bin, great. Don't go chase it. You run on front. It's a pride. Oh, okay. Oh, there was like a DC. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I did remember seeing those now. Gus, I know what you're talking about now. I can't remember the title now, but I know what you're talking about. So, okay. Next, I made my little rant. We got Thunderbolts. We got confirmation, sort of. We had reports that we had confirmation that we're getting that they're working on a Thunderbolts movie. We've heard this multiple times over the last few years. They've never made an official announcement. I don't know that I would really call it confirmation. 650, 700 for 9.8, which is actually down from some of the previous peaks, but back up to this book had been steadily declining, back up there. The one thing interesting about this is it is the first use of the name Thunderbolts team, but most of the members are not going to be the members that you see here. But I still put this as an I'll be back for sure. Like, this thing has been up and down so many times until we get true confirmation, and they're not going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. So my guess is you're not getting any kind of confirmation of a Thunderbolts project at the earliest until the fall. So people are going to forget about this. And again, this is going to kind of slide back down. It's on the roller coaster right now. It's on the roller coaster that the Kate Bishop Hawkeye was on for like 4 years. Why people thought, we're going to get her. We're going to get Haley Steinfeld. We finally got her, but like the book did this for 4 years, and we're in the middle of that with this. He's saying straight cash. I don't think so. I don't think this is straight cash. I think this is on the roller coaster. For sure. Yeah, it's on the yo-yo. And so I'd be looking for it. Yeah. Look for deals. Thunderbolts 128. So the first time Elena joins the Thunderbolts, 15 to 20, which is not ridiculously high. But here's the thing. Even with the bottom staple pop for $1, you're still in the straight gas for sure. These first time on the team things usually don't have a ton of legs. Like 10 to 15 is probably fine. I still put it as like an I'll be back because, like, is there really going to be a high demand for this just because they do a Thunderbolts and she's a part of it? I don't see that, but it 10 to 15 is kind of harmless, but I'd still put it as an I'll be back. Wait, am I looking at the wrong? 15 to 20, I'm looking at the wrong line. My apologies. 15 to 20, I put it as an I'll be back, but it's not stupid crazy, but I don't think there's much higher ceiling for it than that. So sorry, I was confused. I was looking at the line for this book. So we're moving into Miss Marvel with the last 3 books. So if you did not stay for the mid-credit scene, Miss Marvel did have a mid-credit scene. So after the colorful credits, but before the just worded credits, we got a scene with Damage Control looking at videos of her little use of her powers. So if you didn't stay for that, you wouldn't have known about this. But so there was a mid-credit scene for Miss Marvel, first episode of Miss Marvel. It appears that we're seeing Damage Control. This is the one that's only 10 to 15, but people have spec'd on Damage Control multiple times. They tried to put together a show. It didn't work. No one cares. I mean, no one cares about Damage Control. I guess at 10 to 15, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. You could argue it's worth it. I would put it as an I'll be back in terms of I would just kind of wait and get it whenever. But yeah, no one cares about Damage Control. Maybe they'll make you care in the show, but I'll be surprised. There you go. Hideous. Well, there's a Cyclops on it, so that by itself makes it pretty hideous. But that's even a bad outfit for him. I thought it was really, really good. Clean your house. Do they really do a good job? So, all right. Last 2 books. Fully into Miss Marvel now. First up, we're going to talk about Marvel Now .1. So we got an interesting phenomenon going on here. And I noticed this with Thor, a lesser extent to some of the Doctor Strange stuff, but I noticed this with the Thor trailer, and we're seeing this with now Miss Marvel, is that traditionally, the highest peaks on these kind of books are trailer, first appearance as the show comes out. Those are the peaks. Those are the heights that these books go to. Not happening. Both of the books, this and the next book, which I was going to show the next book, I'll talk about them individually, which is her number one, are way lower than the peaks from last year when we got casting and we knew where the show was coming. Because he deserves it. So yeah. So here's the thing. I totally lost my train of thought with the Cyclops show. So what I saw this was interesting because I saw it with the Thor book, and we're seeing it here a little bit too, is when the Thor trailer hit, the Jane Foster books were going for $350. And they or $250, $300. They were going $250, $300. That first Jane Foster Thor. Trailer hits $350. You get the initial little bump, but immediately, because so many people have been setting on them, the market just dumped all their 9.8 copies. Everyone that had one sold it. Well, there was a huge increase in sales, but it could not keep up with how many we put on the market. And the book went down. The trailer caused the book to go down because so many books hit the market. The same thing has happened. Now, this book was on a steady decline anyway because we'd moved away from stuff. And from the craziness of 21, where this book was like a $2,000 book at one point. Now it's raw copies are 200, 9.8 is 1,000. But we kind of see like a whole bunch of people putting these out, and the price is kind of like staying, not really jumping, not like what you would expect. Lots of sales, lots of people interested, but because everyone that's been sitting on them until the show comes out, dumping them, there's not as huge of interest. I saw it was very evident with the Thor books because I had a couple of them I tried to sell, and I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't working. That's what I think a part of what's going on here. The other thing is, I think there's just some fatigue. There's this whole, everybody goes at, these books are not necessarily that hard to find, and there's so much spec on them. Everybody's going after these things and paying stupid prices when we first get news or announcements. Well, that's not real. It's an artificial bump to the interest of the character, even with the show. Like $1,000 for her first appearance with the show is actually good. The fact of the matter is we overspiked it to 2,000. At 1,000, I think it's probably worth it right now. Even though after the show goes, it's probably going to drop a little bit, so you could argue it's an I'll be back. But I think long term, you're probably sitting in a worth it at 1,000, even though it's way down from where it was. Yeah, I think there's some of this going on. Yeah, there's definitely some of this. So, yeah, I've noticed this, and I think these things that we've known about for years, I think is where we're going to see it. Where we don't see it is when you get a book where we haven't known about something for a long, long time, and there hasn't been as much speculation. Those books are jumping now, but the books where we've known for a couple of years what's coming, they're not quite as good of, like, the sell on a trailer might not be the way to go anymore. So we'll just see. So this one's raw 200, 9.8, just under 1,000. I put worth it. I think it's probably there longer term. Short term, it's probably actually an I'll be back. I think long term, it's definitely worth it. But short term, it's probably a bit of an I'll be back because I think it'll come down a little bit from the show hype. So I'm gonna actually make myself a note. Worth it long term. I'll be back in 6. So I'm gonna made myself that little note, and I think the same thing for the last book, which is her first solo series. Raws are 80, which is down from what they were. 9.8, 235, under $300, $235 for 9.8. Now this one I think is a little different. $235 for 9.8. This was $1,000 almost. It was not quite, but it was pushing $1,000 for this book, and it's under 300 for 9.8. Holy moly, did this thing turn into a trap if you were going after it. But yeah, at 230, you're probably worth it, I think, for this one. Under $100 for a raw copy. Yeah. I mean, there was a 400% increase in sales, and the price went down. Think about that. 400% increase in sales, and the price went down. Yeah. I'm going to leave this one as just a worth it. I'm not going to caveat this one because I think this one's probably worth it. But I think it's low enough now that it's worth it. But we'll see. Maybe it goes even lower. But yeah, we're seeing a new pattern here a little bit. I mean, I think long term she's a good character to have. But yeah, it's not. You're not seeing the turn that speculators were wanting. Yeah. That's definitely appears to be happening. And I'm sure I'm contributing to this. I hope I'm contributing a little bit to this, that the books are out there, that you don't have to jump on them in the moment. I'm sure the speculators hate me if that's true. But I hope I'm contributing to that a little bit, that people are making a little bit smarter decisions. Now, for my own good, I have a few books a couple of those store books that I haven't sold, and that's hurt me, but because I was hoping to turn them for a bigger profit than I'm gonna. But what are you gonna do? I can't blame somebody for being smarter. They talked about Tom and them talked about 14. They talked about 17. All of them are down from last year's peaks. All of them are down from last year's peaks. So all of them are showing the same pattern. Hey, Kenneth, just in time for me to wrap this up. So I just thought that was interesting. I want to spend a few extra minutes on it. Yeah, we're seeing a very different pattern with her books and with the Jane Foster Thor books. And like anything that we've known is coming for a while, we're starting to see a very different pattern. The market floods. There's still a ton of people buying, but not at the level of people that are selling. And it's actually pushing the prices down a little bit. So there you go. All right. With that, I'm going to get out of here and get me some lunch. It's almost noon. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Sunday. I always appreciate it. And we will catch you guys next time. Maybe. Where's my... Oh, I'm going the wrong way. There it is. Later, everybody.